Today, our speaker will be Oksana Remeniaka. Her presentation is entitled Nigra said Formosa, Immersed in Sadness, However Beautiful, the Problem of Returning Lost Artifacts. After our speaker has finished her presentation, as usual, you get a chance to submit your questions via the chat feature on Zoom or through our YouTube where we are broadcasting live. This presentation will be recorded and will be available for viewing shortly on our YouTube site in case people that you know couldn't join us at this time but would like to view it. So now I'll introduce our speaker. Oksana Remeniaka is a doctor of the history of art and chief of the Laboratory of Modern Art Technologies of the Modern Art Research Institute of the National Academy of Arts of Ukraine. She's also professor of the Culturology Department at the University of Kyiv-Mohyla Academy. She's a member of the Italian Committee of Experts of Fondazione Romualdo del Bianco. Her research focuses on culture of the borderlands and on Ukrainian art at the end of 19th and the beginning of the 20th centuries. She's also a leading specialist of Ukrainian 16th to 18th century iconography, specifically that of the Polish-Ukrainian borderlands, which we'll be discussing today in detail. She is an expert on the highly venerable icon, the Virgin Mary of Kholm. Oksana Remeniaka is the author of the monograph Nigra said Formosa, Immersed in Sadness, However Beautiful, which the link will be provided on our Zoom chat. It's actually, Oksana's nice enough to offer the book available, the link where you could access the book. The monograph is in Ukrainian. Well, there's a lengthy summary in the end in English for those that don't have Ukrainian, but the link should be available. And this is the subject of today's talk. And finally, I'll just add that in 2019 and for a part of 20, she was a visiting Fulbright scholar at the Harriman Institute, Columbia University. Unfortunately, it was cut short a bit by COVID, but we managed to do many wonderful things and discuss various projects with Oksana when she was our guest last year. And we're very happy that she now has a chance to present. So Oksana, I leave the floor to you.
Okay, thank you very much. And in what way I can switch my presentation? Launch meeting.
You just need to share screen again.
Okay. Okay, I will begin, and then
so
help me to
share screen, maybe?
Demonstration of the screen. Yes, okay. Yes. Sorry for this pause. Okay. With this talk, I would like to address the problem of repatriating lost artifacts, highlighting the example of a specific work of art that disappeared in the early 12th century and was found in the late 12th century. This story is about the icon of the Holy Virgin of Kholm that has an outstanding provenance. It was created in Byzantium in the late 11th century and was a family relic of the Princes of Halych, brought to the new capital of the Halych-Volynian principality by Prince Danylo Romanovich. The fate of the Kholm Holy Virgin icon is inseparably connected with the destinies of the long-suffering Ukrainian people of Kholm region, who were twice turned into refugees in their native land, which became the borderland between Poland and Ukraine. Kholm region and the city of Kholm are currently a part of Poland, as you know. The history of this very icon, and here you can see this icon, reflects the history of the war-torn country divided between its neighbors. The story of this icon's disappearance and salvation plays out against the background of violent historic and political events of the 20th century. I'll start my story from the event which took place in September 1943 in Kholm. This speech, given in honor of the icon's return to the newly rebuilt Kholm Cathedral of the Blessed Virgin Mary, Archbishop of Kholm and Podlyasha Hilarion noted that this icon was the only one of the 4 apostolic icons that had been owned by Ukraine and was returned to its motherland. And this is a fragment of his speech. The whole Madonna of the Immaculate Conception had become the faithful guardian of the entire land of Ukraine, becoming for us our one hope, our only miraculous apostolic icon in Ukraine. Our Vyshgorod apostolic icon was seized and taken to Vladimir beyond Klazma, then to Moscow. Our Belska apostolic icon was taken to Chenstohova, and our Kievan apostolic icon of the Assumption of Virgin Mary was destroyed in fire set by barbarians. Archbishop Hilarion's secular name was Ivan Ogienko. He was a well-known Ukrainian historian, linguist, and public figure. The icon of the Holy Virgin of Kholm was considered apostolic because it was associated with the legend of the Apostle Luke's authorship. The icon belongs to the Dexiocratusa, right-handed version of the Hadagidria type, the mother of God with a child on the right, and is painted on the cypress wood. The Vyshgorod Holy Virgin icon that was mentioned by Hilarion, and here you can see this icon, was stolen in 1155 by Andriy Bogolubsky, the Prince of Suzdal, from the Vyshgorod residence of Princes of Kyiv, and he transferred his power to Suzdal. After being renamed as the Holy Virgin of Vladimir, this unique work of sacred art became the most venerated holy relic of Russia. This icon, as you see, is the closest analog of the Holy Virgin of Kholm icon and also belongs to the Dexiocratusa version, as you see, but Eleusa type. On this icon, only the faces are original, faces of Mother and God. They belong to the early 12th century. The rest was added later in the 14th and 15th centuries. In 1384, the Silesian Prince Władysław Opolski, the last representative of the Silesian Piast dynasty, removed the Holy Virgin of Belz icon from the Belz castle near Lviv to his own land, which were given by him to the monastery of Pauline. Today, the icon, now called the Black Madonna of Chenstohova, is the most venerated Catholic relic in Poland. Another apostolic icon, the Holy Virgin Assumption, disappeared from the Assumption Cathedral of the Kyiv Monastery in November 1941, after the cathedral was looted and blown up by the Bolsheviks. This happened during the period of German occupation of Kyiv. The Nazis knew the cathedral was mined by Bolsheviks, but they did nothing to stop it, and simply plundered the most valuable objects. This icon was very small in size, painted on rosewood wood, in paints made of dusted gemstones. And here you see only the 19th century copy of this icon. To my great pity, there is no photo from the original of this icon, only the description of this holy icon. And it's quite possible that someday this icon masterpiece will resurface and we will see it in all its splendor. As I mentioned, the Holy Virgin of Kholm icon was created in Byzantium in the late 11th century, at a time when the people of the most Christian countries were not quite aware of the consequences of the church schism of 1054. The split of churches become fait accompli by the 13th century, when the early attempt to conclude the religious union occurred, a part of which was the crowning of Prince Danylo of Halych by the papal representatives in Dorohitchin in 1253. In the context of the Prince Danylo Romanovich's aspiration of state building and the union of churches, the relocation of the Halych prince's most precious family relic, created before the split of the Christian church, from Kyiv to Kholm, appears in a slightly different light. The cult of the Holy Virgin icon culminated in the period after the Union of Brest in 1596, when the Kholm Cathedral and the miraculous icon of the Holy Blessed Virgin Mary of Kholm became the greatest stumbling blocks between the Orthodox, the Uniates, and the Catholics. The young Uniate Church, seeking to win its place in the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, needed its own banner in the middle of the battle. And so the icon of the Holy Virgin of Kholm became their banner. Jakub Susza, or better to say Jan Jakub Susza, the Kholm and Belz bishop of the Uniate, that is Greek Catholic Church, was the first to describe the history and development of the cult of miracle-working Kholm Holy Virgin icon in his early work, The Resurrected Phoenix. In 1646, the first edition of the documented statements was published in the Most through the efforts of Jakub Susza. Written in Latin, the first collection described 100 miracles. The second edition of the Phoenix, published in Lviv, in the second edition of the Phoenix, published in Lviv, the number of miracles increased to 194. In the 1684 edition, there were already 704 miracles. And for the last, and the engraving of Alexander Tarasevich was made specifically for this last edition. Alexander Tarasevich is a very interesting person. It's a famous Ukrainian artist who studied at the art school of Philip and Bartholomew Kilian in Osborne. Then he returned to Kyiv and went to the Kyiv Cave Monastery as a monk. And he headed the icon painting workshop at the Kyiv Cave Monastery. But let's return to Jakub Susza, who was also the author of the first very poetic description of this icon. It's a kind of history of art from Jakub Susza. And here it is. The humble face of the Virgin and Mother of God, revered and admired, evokes a fear that conveys a delight. An inexplicable rapture, occultist stimulus, that pierces the human heart and moves one to serve God. Her visage is oblong, blackened, elegant in its darkness, completely Nigra, said Formosa. As if alive, she peers into the divine eyes of her son, into the divine heart of her son, and with her dove-like eyes enraptures all who gaze at her. As I mentioned, the monograph published during the bishop's lifetime had 3 imprints, and after Susza's death, was included in a book published by the efforts of Bishop Maximilian Rillo in honor of the icon's coronation in Kholm in 1765. And here you can see some engravings from this book. The engraving of Fedor Rakovetsky, and here you can see the facade of the Kholm Cathedral of the Blessed Virgin Mary. And on the center of the facade, you can see the image of this icon, of the Blessed Virgin Mary of Kholm. And another engraving, very interesting. It shows the firework in honor of the icon's coronation and the triumphal arch. And in the center of the triumphal arch is also the image of the Virgin Mary of Kholm. A few years later, the peaceful world of these traditional Sarmatians, with their noble megalomania and ancient superstitions, would be brutally trampled by the First Division of Poland in 1772. Kholm region became a part of Russia, and Russia tried to make the Kholm Holy Virgin icon cult a part of Russian Orthodox Church. In such circumstances, the icon remained in Kholm during the 19th and the beginning of the 20th centuries. During the First World War, the Ukrainians from the Polish-Ukrainian border, that is to say, the Kholm region, went through severe trials. The Russian Empire treated Ukrainians as Russians, and this fatally led to tragedy. And as you see, nothing has changed since those times. And once again, Russia is trying to treat Ukraine as an inseparable part of its empire. And this is why we are facing the Russian-Ukrainian war in our land. At the turning point of the First World War, when on the 2nd of May 1915, Russian troops began retreating, they followed the usual tactic of burning the land. For the 1,000 kilometers, they had been sowing around ruins, which had not happened on this land since the Tatar invasions. The Ukrainian population was evacuated from this land to the depths of Russia. A witness of this event was the well-known Ukrainian historian Mikhailo Kornilovich. He described the deportation of Ukrainians from Kholm. In the morning of July the 17th, the horizon above Kholm was shadowed by the fire smoke and that was burning around. At 7 a.m., the military administration sent an officer to the Castle Mount and ordered him to take out the greatest holy icon of the Western Rus. The icon and the people of Kholm dwelt in exile in tragic circumstances. And here you can see the photo of Mikhailo Kornilovich after arrest. When he was arrested, he was 72 years old. And then he was accused of being an Ukrainian nationalist and foreign spy, which was, of course, a great lie. The Ukrainian population of Kholm, expelled by the Russian army from their homes, moved the icon of the Holy Virgin to Moscow. The icon remained in Moscow for the short time, and after the October revolt, it was brought by Mikhailo Kornilovich to Kyiv. In 1918, Bolsheviks started to expropriate church property. The main caretaker of this icon, the historian Mikhailo Kornilovich, moved it to Kyiv to Froly Female Monastery. But in the 1920s, when the monasteries fell under the watchful eye of the NKVD, this abbreviation stands for the name of the secret service of the Soviet Union, Russia. The displaced Kholm natives lived in Kyiv decided to hide the miraculous image of the Holy Virgin of Kholm to their own sacral. The further fate of the icon is tied to an attempt to restore the autocephaly of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. During the German occupation in 1940, the Cathedral of Kholm in Kholm was returned to Ukrainians, and Ivan Ogienko, and here you can see his photo, became a metropolitan Hilarion. He was given a destroyed and ruined Kholm-Podlyazhsk diocese, which had to be raised from the ashes. The members of the Ukrainian art group Serenity responded to his call to restore the cathedral. Most of them were graduates of the Warsaw Academy of Art, future famous Ukrainian artists. And one of the aim during my work at the Columbia University Butler Library with the collection of the rare and manuscripts, which became possible thanks to the Fulbright research program and to Harriman Institute and personally to Mark Andryczyk, was to find information about the members of the art group Serenity, including such famous Ukrainian artists as Petro Mehik, Petro Holodny Jr., Sviatoslav Hordynsky, Petro Andrusiv, etc. And here you can see some photo from the newspapers of those times. On the left, you see the Cathedral of Blessed Mary during the occupation. And on the right, the poster of the cathedral with a trident on a background made by the members of the art group Serenity. Here you can see a very important words, at first in Ukrainian. I will read in Ukrainian. Znovu Ukrainський Kholm. We can translate these words as Kholm is Ukrainian again, and underneath the date is mentioned. It reads May 19, 1940. This date is also very important because it's the date when this cathedral, Kholm Cathedral, was returned to Ukrainian Orthodox Church. A clear understanding of the essential and an ability to see the integral cause and effect relationship of the cult phenomenon spurred Metropolitan Hilarion to search for the greatest relic of the Ukrainian nation, the miraculous icon of the Kholm Holy Virgin. His plans came true on September 27, 1943, when the greatest relic of Ukraine arrived in Kholm due to the efforts of Archpriest Antony Yunak, whose family had been keeping the icon in Kiev for more than 10 years, and Professor Vsevolod Volkanovich, the deputy mayor of Kiev, who organized the transportation of the icon to Kholm. To my pity, I didn't find any photo of priest Yunak, but I found the photo of Volkanovich. And here you can see his photo, his student ID, and of course his photo, student ID of Vsevolod Volkanovich from University of St. Volodymyr in Kyiv. It's from 1912, and the events about which I'm talking took place 30 years later. Very young here. He is very young here. Also, I found the confirmation of the fact that it was Volkanovich who organized the transportation of the icon to Kholm in the archive of the Kyiv region. There is a tiny piece of paper, and on the left, you can see this piece of paper, handwritten by Professor Volkanovich. And on the right, there is a translation, and I marked a few keywords which proves that this text related to our topic. Venerable icon to hide in Kiev, but it could be done. Kiev tomorrow with icon, I suppose that icon. Who hid it? Priest Yunak and his wife, and I suppose that daughter, because they took daughter with them. At first, allow me to live with my family by the executive train. And second, allow me to bring family who kept it. Your help with this, the decision of the population of the whole, I suppose, Kholm, that Kholm, your name would be in history and will always remember Saint, I suppose, that icon. It took me a few years to find this small piece of paper, but I had found it. The families of Priest Antony Yunak and Vsevolod Volkanovich left Kyiv on the 23rd of September and came to Kholm on the 27th of September 1943. Nowadays, such a trip takes 6 or 7 hours, but not 4 days, but it was during the war. However, the icon remained in Kholm for only a short time. It was lost again in 1944, soon after the tragic events for the Ukrainian population of the Kholm and Podlyasha region that began to occur after the subsequent eviction of Ukrainians from the region. It was thought that Metropolitan Hilarion took the miraculous icon to the west. There was also a version that on the way to the west, the icon perished during a bombardment. All along during the post-war years until 1996, the icon had been secretly kept by the family of Nadia Horlitska, a daughter of Gavril Korobchuk, a priest who served at the Kholm eparchy together with Metropolitan Ilarion Ivan Ogienko. After the train in which the Metropolitan was traveling with the icon was bombarded, Reverend Korobchuk and his eldest daughter brought the icon back to Kholm. On the 1st of September 1945, the Korobchuk family had to leave their home in accordance with so-called exchange of population between Poland and the USSR. They moved to Ukraine, to Lutsk, and secretly took the icon with them. So the miraculous icon of the Virgin Mary of Kholm remained in Korobchuk-Horlitska family for more than 50 years. In 1996, Nadia Horlitska gave the icon to the restoration to the specialist at the Icon Museum of Volyn in Lutsk. The specialists faced a daunting task of removing the top layer of oil painting, and here you can see the condition in which this icon was given to restoration. The original layer of tempera was painted over by the oil paint. That's why the process of restoration was extremely painstaking and lasted for almost 4 years. And only the golden Cluzini enamel plaques, and here you can see these plaques, and then I will, and on the left, there is a condition in which it was given to restoration, and on the right is the beginning of the restoration, the first stage of the restoration of this icon. But you can see the golden plaques with the Cluzini enamel, and then also the Cluzini enamels after restoration, 3 rectangular and 1 round with beautiful Cluzini enamels on it. And also I want to pay your attention to the inscription on the reverse side of the icon. Here you can see this inscription in Greek, Kiparisios, and then in Old Ukrainian, Si reč po našemu Cyprus. We can translate it Kiparisios, so that means in our language Cyprus. And it's also very important. I mentioned that this icon was painted on the cypress wood, yes? And Jakub Susza, I think that this inscription belonged to, that this inscription refers to Jakub Susza's times. And Jakub Susza, it was very important for him that this icon was painted on the cypress wood. In his book, he often stressed that this icon was painted on cypress wood because the apostle Luke lived on Mount Zion, on which a lot of cypress trees grew. He considered this fact a proof of Apostle Luke's authorship. But when the upper layer of oil paint was removed, the original image of the beauty of the Virgin Mary of Kholm was uncovered to the world. And here you can see again this icon. The journey of the miraculous Kholm Holy Virgin icon, one of the best examples of the Kievan state Byzantine heritage relic, began with the Kievan state and the Halych-Volynian state of Prince Danylo Romanovich, stretching through epochs. The unique work of sacred art managed to survive through Bogdan Khmelnytsky's War of Liberation, as well as the violent events of the two 20th century world wars, and reached to the time of Ukrainian independence in 1991. Moreover, the unique work of art and significant relic lived on until the remarkable day of 1996 when the icon was discovered in Lutsk. After a long restoration process, on September 15 of the year of 2000, it was transferred to Ukrainian state authorities and now is installed and on view in Icon Museum of Volyn. Thank you for your attention. And only one mark, in this year we will celebrate the 75th anniversary of the Fulbright research program activity, and let us congratulate them at the end, and thank you for your attention, and thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Oksana. Yes, and we want to thank Fulbright Ukraine for the program in general and bringing this wonderful scholars from Ukraine that we've had the pleasure of hosting many at the Harriman Institute at Columbia University in our Ukrainian Studies program. So I'm glad that your research through the program helped you to work on this. Congratulations to you too on your talk. Fascinating story. Obviously there's.
Yes, it's like something like detective, yes?
Yes, yeah, you can see a film being made. We'll open up to questions now with the public. I have kind of a simple question here at the start. When you mentioned this 1996, yes, when this Nadia Horlaitska appears with this icon, which has been in hiding for, you said, over 50 years, yes?
Yes.
How did that happen? Like, were people surprised completely by this? Did they really think it was somewhere in Canada or in the United States or Western Europe? Or did they think that maybe it's being hidden by somebody that was involved with Ohnyenko and the people, you know, in the Kholm in the 40s? Or was it really taken totally by surprise that day? And do we have any more details about how that occurred, this announcement and this?
You know, every time when this icon occurred, maybe in 17th century or in 1943 in Kholm or in 1996 in Lutsk, it always was a great surprise, you know, and something unbelievable with this icon because it's, you know that Ukraine lost a lot of its heritage during the two world wars, and not only during world wars and before interwar period also, and every art work, and especially such as Kholm Virgin Mary, are very it's very very great heritage for Ukraine, that and these people from Kholm, and she Nadia Horlicka is from Kholm origin. They were refugees, and they always believed that they returned to their native lands. And they keep this icon and want to return this icon to the cathedral in Kholm, yeah, because it always was Ukrainian cathedral. It's connected with the names of Danylo Halych, because Danylo Halych was buried here, and his sons to his sons. And but it was impossible, and you understand why, because it's Polish lands, and now it's Polish lands. And when her father Gavril Koropchuk had died, she decided to give this icon at first to church in Lutsk, to the Ukrainian church. But it was, you know, a very complicated time, you know, 1996 and 2000s. And there were different churches, you know, the Catholic, Ukrainian, Moscow, Russian church. And when she met with the restaurators, they told her not to give it to, she decided to give it to museum. It was a very good decision, and it is in separate room in the museum, and it's very very convenient situation with this icon.
Thank you. We have a few questions popping up here. Olga Nikolic-Litvin asks kind of a two-part question I'm going to combine. Is it known when the icon was overpainted with oil paint? And was it more than one overpaint on the icon when it was taken for restoration treatment in 1996?
It only one overpaint, only one overpaint. It was hidden in such a way from the Soviet commissars. They look for this icon every time, and they sent their commissars to Hiyenko to find it when he was in Kennedy. And they hid this icon. Вони її сховали просто в такий спосіб.
So they were able to hide it.
Hide.
Thank you. Anonymous attendee, where is the icon? And today, well, you mentioned it's in the Volyn Museum in Lutsk.
Yes, in museum.
Well, my question to you, this icon has such a history, as we've seen from your talk. You know, so many important historical events can be told with the story of the icon, and so many interesting and important historical and cultural figures like Yakub Susha and Ohnienko, Metropolitan Ohnienko,
Maximilian Rillo, and
you
yes.
have
And also Natalia Polonska-Vasilenko, a historian, a well-known historian, and she also hid this icon in her home when she lived in Kyiv.
and then also historical effect, like you mentioned, the
Yes.
Khmelnytsky and the Berestechko, right? The Battle of Berestechko.
Yes,
very important with the icon in 16.
Also, the Berestechko is the banner of.
So many important people and events associated with the icon. My question to you, to kind of piggyback on the question about where it's being stored, we all know there's a situation in museums in Ukraine is not very good. It's slowly getting better in certain museums, but can the vast importance and the story of this particular icon be told today in Ukraine in a museum? Are our museums capable of?
Yes.
Of
Yes.
VR? Can you maybe give us some details about where it's located now?
They have a lot of materials about this icon, and not only my book is written about this icon on this theme. There are other books, and every year there are conferences and about this icon. Not only this icon, there are a lot of materials, but not so much, because as to compare this situation with the situation with the icon which was shown by me, the Black Madonna of Częstochowa, which is in the Częstochowa city near Krakow in Poland. And it was at first in Belz near Lviv. Much more conferences in Poland and different conferences are organized in honor of this icon, and they're searching every time this theme every time. And a lot of literature there are about this icon. Huge.
Okay. Thank you. A question from Yuri Anchishin. It's a three-part question. It's of a technical nature. So here goes. First question: has a dendrochronological investigation of the age of the icon been performed? Dendrochronological investigation of the age of the icon. Has that been performed?
Danger of iconological. Sorry, repeat.
Dendrochronological. It's a technical term. I'm sorry, I don't. So I guess in determining the exact age of the icon, how have any tests?
Test of its age. Its age. Yes.
I believe so.
There are a lot of versions of the age of this icon. One of version of the restorator, who made the restoration of this icon during the 4 years. That it's belonged to the late 11th century. And another researcher told about the 12th or beginning of the 13th century. And it's also a complicated question. We need to make more researches for this fact. But I believe to the restorator of this icon, and I think that he is right.
Well, a related question from Yuri Anchishin. I mentioned there was a three-part. Was the icon made of one piece of wood or of many?
No. It's a 3-piece of different size. 3 pieces of wood, and it has an arc. As you see, it has an arc. I don't, if you can see that in icon, it's called kovchech, yes, but ark. And 3 pieces of wood, yes, which connected together.
And has a microscopic identification of the wood of the icon been performed to reliably identify it as cypress? So do we know for sure?
Yes, it's really cypress. And this inscription in the reverse side of the icon is true. And you know, in nowadays it smells like cypress.
Still today, yes.
Yes. I can prove it. I saw it, and it's very interesting.
Okay, thank you, Oksana. We have another question from Mikhailo Balotrak. Thank you for this very informative presentation. Is the Ukrainian government taking any steps to protect this icon and to secure it?
Yes, of course. They take care of this icon from the very beginning, and it was very nice. And yes, of course, and especially you know, the museum was музей перенесли в нове приміщення, тобто він отримав нове приміщення. Thanks to this icon, it
transferred to a different space, yes.
A new space, yes.
Well, that was another question of mine. How big a priority is this for the Ukrainian government? And we know since independence there have been different governments in charge of Ukraine. Has restoration of icons and trying to reclaim icons and other artifacts, has that been
yes, of course. But you know, this icon is so charming that and they understand that all famous such a famous people were standing behind her, and such like Danylo Romanovich, Jan Kazimir, Polish king, and so on, and others. And they also have a desire to be the same as those people. And
they want to be a hero in the story.
Yes, they also want to be a hero, like Danylo Romanovich, and not so bad.
Yeah, let's hope so. Another question from Olga Nikolic-Litvin. What is standing now in the place of the icon in the cathedral back in Kholm?
In Kholm? The copy of the copy, yes. But there is an idea to make the copy from this icon on the cypress wood, like this, and to give a gift to the Kholm Cathedral. There is an idea. There is such an idea, but it's for a long time.
It's also interesting on a level of. So it's been in the museum since 2000, you said.
Sorry.
How long has the icon been at the Lutsk Museum?
From 2000 years. Yes.
Now, is it a popular? Is it like
yes, very popular, very popular. A lot of people came to her, and
I think it has an interesting also dynamic to it because Prince Danylo, right, brought it from Kyiv, yes?
Yes.
So it's not just the regional Volhynian story.
And his mother was from Byzantine, yes, Princess Anna, and it was maybe from, thanks to her, this icon was in their family, in the family of the Princes of Halych.
Now I know, the icon has finally reappeared and it's back, but is there any plans on the icon traveling?
No, no,
Ukraine or
no. Only in Lutsk, and you can see it only when you will go to Lutsk. No, it's can't traveling.
Kyiv is not interested in.
No. Kyiv is interesting, but it was made in such way that it's can't leave Lutsk.
Mm-hmm.
This icon can't leave its place.
Mm-hmm. Understood.
She traveled for a too long time, you
Right.
know.
Of course. Yeah. And our final question, is your book available in an English language translation?
No, to my great pity, no, but I try to do it if
someone
you need, I try.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
That would be wonderful. I'm sure there are a lot of people interested, just if we can make it happen. I
Yes.
should add that the link that is provided
Yes, everybody can.
there's an English language summary at the
Have
end.
a free access to this book, yes.
And it's
On the site of our institute, there are a lot of interesting books and a free access to them.
Mhm. So please take advantage of this generosity, and it's beautiful because you can spend more time looking at these wonderful icons. These.
Yes.
Okay, well, I don't see any more questions. And there is one more question. Yes, Lydia Abodnar-Balaturak, is relocating the icon to its original setting in the cathedral in Lutsk under consideration?
Once again, sorry.
Is relocating the icon to its original setting in the
No, only museum, It's impossible to give it to cathedral. In Lutz, there are a lot of different unites, Catholics, Orthodox, and all have reference to this icon, and it's better situated in museum.
So it has finally found a stable home. Yes.
Yes, stable home.
Well, thank you so much, Oksana, for a wonderful presentation.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
And again, it was a pleasure hosting you last year, and we at the Harriman Institute. So we hope to have you back soon, physically, and to collaborate with you in the future. So wish you all the best, and thank you for everyone for tuning in. Our next event will be a book presentation by Yulia Ledigina on Olya Koblyanska, will be on March 10th. So please stay tuned for that. Thank you.